here. It's over and done with.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Jason Fitz in for Trey with Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr. I said on Friday, before anyone made any sweeping generalizations of the statements of Myles Garrett, that the most important thing to do was watch the entire interview on OTL with Mina Kimes to get context, to remember that he came into his interview with Mina and said flat out, hey, this doesn't excuse my actions. I'm not saying that my actions were okay, but this is why I did it. So I asked everybody to get context, again, to this comment from Myles, or this portion of the interview from Myles Garrett.
I mean, he called me the N-word. He called me a stupid N-word. I don't say the N-word, whether it's with A, ER. To me personally, it just shouldn't be said. And whether it's by family, friends, anyone. And I don't want to use it because I don't want to find that appropriate around me for anyone to use. So when he said it, it kind of sparked something, but I still tried to let it go and still walk away. Once he came back, it kind of reignited the situation.
I asked everybody to listen to the entire interview to get context. And I will say, Mason Rudolph, who's being accused in this of using the derogatory term, his attorneys responded to that essentially on Twitter when they said, this is the quote, the statement they released. We waited to hear the entire interview. Garrett, after originally apologizing to Mason Rudolph, has made the ill-advised choice of publishing the belated and false accusation that Mr. Rudolph uttered a racial slur on the night in question. They go on to say more in that process, but they do come with the end of it where they say, although Mr. Rudolph had hoped to move forward, it is Mr. Garrett who has decided to utter this defamatory statement in California. He's now exposed to legal liability. That's an important statement because Mason Rudolph also went to Twitter to say 1,000% false, bold-faced lie. I did not, have not, and would not utter a racial slur. This is a disgusting and reckless attempt to assassinate my character. So now what we have are the player and his attorney both coming out telling the world this is a defamation of character issue. We don't know that a lawsuit has been filed yet, or if there will be a lawsuit filed, I should say. But we know that right now they're at least angling themselves to defend themselves in court.
And we also have Mason Rudolph's head coach, Mike Tomlin, behind Mason Rudolph as well. This is Mike Tomlin. You barely, his press conferences, by the way, are great, but this is a totally different situation. You don't hear him speak a whole lot, but he put out a statement on this, and he said, I support Mason Rudolph not only because I know him, but also because I was on the field immediately following the altercation with Myles Garrett and subsequently after the game. I interacted with a lot of people in the Cleveland Browns organizations, players and coaches. If Mason said what Myles claimed, it would have come out during the many interactions I had with those in the Browns organizations. In my conversations, I'd have a lot of expressions of sorrow for what happened. I received no indication of anything racial or anything of that nature in those interactions. And again, for those who watch it, Myles said specifically what he alleges Mason to have said was when Myles was tackling him when he just threw the quick flare pass or the screen or whatever it was. That's when it happened. So that's not the helmet swinging. Don't look then. Look when Myles was tackling Mason Rudolph. That's when he said Mason Rudolph said that. The only two players around were the O-lineman Filer and DeCastro, were in the nearest vicinity. If Pouncey was mic'd up, he was not as near that play when he was being tackled. So is there audio? Is there not audio? Will it be released? The league says there was no audio. I have no idea, but that's when Myles said Mason said that. And if Mason, as he said, did not say that, he is vehemently denying it and is willing to take many steps because, man, that is something to accuse somebody of saying. If they truly said, I didn't say that, you're going to fight that one because that's
what do we hear all the time? If in a certain instance where something like this especially is alleged, we always say, well, if you didn't really say it, you'd come out swinging with everything in you.
Come out swinging.
I mean, what swings harder than this, the threat of litigation and the things that might follow?
I mean, because at the end of the day, defamation of character in a legal sense is coming out with intentional malice to defame someone's character in a way that changes the public perception on them or prevents them from making future monies. That's the essential, the easiest way to define what that is. And the state of California is one of the more lenient states to file these lawsuits in. So I think it's important that the attorney came in and said, hey, they made the defamatory statement in California. He's now exposed to legal liability. So they're setting themselves up to essentially be able to come in and say, hey, if he didn't say it, they're going to go in and say, you didn't say it. As a result, this was an attempt to make him look like an awful person, and it's going to hurt his ability to work in the NFL moving forward. Those are all logical next steps if you are 1,000% sure that you didn't say it. And it's a reminder that this isn't going to just go away, because no matter what happens at this point with Mason Rudolph, on a roster, not on a roster, his attorneys will be able to turn around and continue to go after whatever they think this is.
And again, from the league, Brian McCarthy from the NFL office issued a statement Saturday reiterating the league does not have audio from the game. As we said at the time the allegation was made, we looked into the matter and found no evidence. We checked with the officiating crew, including the ref who was on top of the play and ensuing aftermath. No player on either team came forward to say they heard him say it on the field. There was no indications of any players saying they heard him say it in their postgame comments. Here's the interesting part about the microphones. He said there was no sound recorded from the field during that game. As with every game, there were microphones on the center or interior linemen that help amplify the ambient sound as the quarterbacks were calling signals at the line of scrimmage, but they do not record sound. Microphones are open from the break of the huddle or when the center places his hand on the ball in a no-huddle offense through the snap of the ball. Then they are turned off at that point. I'm not going to lie, I did not know that because we hear sound on NFL films all the time. I'm trying to remember to hear sound during the play, or is it before the play and then right after the play? Sometimes you hear talk, but the statement from the NFL.
And you know what I'd say is, of all of this, the things that may or may not or that needs to be true. Like if you're the NFL and you're saying there's no sound, we better damn sure not through the course of any of this find out that there is sound, because that would be and reverberate the loudest and the longest from all this.
Same statement I made about Major League Baseball. If this gets to depositions, that's when we'll know exactly what's out there. Speaking of Major League Baseball, this mess with signal stealing just got worse. We'll tell you about it next.